My wife's cold betrayal. While I fought for life in the ICU, she cheated in our bed. My name is Ethan Hayes. I'm 3-sex. I was a lead software architect at Innovate AI, a rising tech startup in San Francisco. My life felt perfectly built. A structure I had crafted, brick by painstaking brick, held together with hard work, loyalty, and a deep belief in the values I was raised with. I came from a family of artisans. My parents ran a small local bakery, a place that always smelled of warm bread and sweet vanilla. They never had college degrees, but they had something more powerful: dedication. Dad kneaded dough for 40 years, his hands always dusted in flour. Mom, she decorated cakes like they were masterpieces. To them, sending me to college was the dream. They saved every penny, every single one, so I could attend a state university. And I didn't waste that chance. I hustled hard, took on coding gigs late at night, balancing classes and client deadlines like my life depended on it. Graduated with honors. Landed my first job. And from there, I built something massive. My ambition, it was lit by their sacrifices. I worked hard. I kept grounded. I loved cycling. And I thought, truly thought, I had a strong marriage with Chloe. She was 33, an art gallery curator with a spark in her eyes that made people stop mid-sentence. Auburn hair cut in a bold, asymmetrical bob. A body toned from Pilates. And that smile, that mysterious Mona Lisa smile that hinted at secrets you'd never be able to unlock. She curated for Aperture, the kind of gallery that made headlines, number 0. Or she dressed in avant-garde Japanese fashion, always impeccably, always 5 steps ahead of the room. She could hold court with tech billionaires and reclusive, brooding artists. Everyone felt seen around her. Special, like she picked them. She was the kind of woman who turned heads. The kind who made conversations stop cold when she walked in. And somehow, she chose me. Chloe, with her sharp bob and that enigmatic smile, was captivating. I was smitten. And after just a year, I married her. Our wedding, chic, modern. But my father, the humble baker that he was, pulled me aside. He warned me. Said she seemed to enjoy the performance of it all, a little too much. I laughed it off. I dismissed him, blinded by love. But looking back now, number 0. Or, the signs were always there. She looked bored when I talked about my work, about our future, our finances. She'd make little jokes about my parents' bakery, mocking the simplicity of their lives. She thrived in gallery politics, yet ignored the storm I was facing in my startup. Our apartment, a sleek showroom she renovated like it was some art installation, number 0. Or, our vacations, just backdrops for her staged Instagram shots. And intimacy had faded into memory. But I convinced myself that was just marriage, right? God, I was a fool. The descent began quietly, right in the middle of a brutal sprint at work. 60-hour weeks were the new normal. Analyzing system architecture. Bringing work home. Living off caffeine and sheer willpower, number 0. Chloe tolerated it. Not because she cared, but because of the increased bonus, a worthy trade-off in her eyes. 3 weeks in, exhaustion hit me like a freight train. Not just tired, it felt deeper. My muscles ached like I'd just run an ultramarathon even though I hadn't trained in weeks. A constant headache throbbed behind my eyes, laughing at painkillers. Ooh, chills gripped me, even on warm afternoons. And when I finally told Chloe I needed to see a doctor, she barely looked up from her phone. You're always looking for excuses to avoid my social engagements, Ethan. Just tough it out. Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with the gym, you wouldn't be so worn out. Classic Chloe. Every discomfort, every cry for help, twisted back into an inconvenience for her. I tried to push through for another week, subsisting on energy drinks and sheer willpower, but my body was already giving out. I could barely manage half my usual cycling route without feeling faint. My vision started tunneling at the edges. At work, I began getting odd looks from colleagues. I was sweating profusely at my ergonomic standing desk, number 0. Ooh, in an office that was aggressively air-conditioned. Even my CEO, a usually jovial woman named Anya, stopped me one afternoon. Her brow furrowed with genuine concern. "Is everything all right at home?" she asked. I lied, said I was fine, probably just fighting off a bug. Then, the fever hit. Not a common, Tylenol-defeating fever, but the kind that wakes you, drenched in acrid sweat, number 0. Or your brain simmering in its own juices. Your joints screaming so much you can barely shuffle to the bathroom. I remember the thermometer, 102.5 degrees Fahrenheit, not ER level, but definitely doctor-worthy. The metallic taste in my mouth got stronger, almost like blood. And Chloe. Her response came from the doorway, while she was applying a face mask. "Well, just sleep on the custom Italian leather sofa then," she snapped, number 0. "I have a major exhibition opening tomorrow, with the mayor attending, and I absolutely cannot risk getting sick." She didn't even check on me that night. I could hear her in the other room, laughing on a video call with a friend, talking about guest lists and canapes. Meanwhile, I lay in the living room, shivering under 3 cashmere throws, too weak, too disoriented. To even heat the broth she so generously pointed out. The chill of the room matched the chill in my heart. The next morning, my doctor's office was fully booked for an entire week. The nurse suggested urgent care if my condition worsened. Her voice was gentle, but I was still in denial, still clinging to the foolish hope that this was just a particularly nasty flu. Foolishly, tragically, I decided to tough it out. A big mistake. The biggest mistake of my life, as it would later turn out. That Sunday, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the left side of my body went numb. The room spun violently. My heart pounded like a drum. I attempted to get up and collapsed instantly, knocking over a fragile glass sculpture. She appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame. Her arms were crossed. She did not rush to help. She did not ask if I was all right. Just an irritated stare. "Ethan, seriously, that was a one-of-a-kind sculpture," she shouted. I was lying on the floor, the shards of glass glinting near my head like malevolent eyes. Unable to move, my speech slurred as I tried desperately to explain. "Think. Something is wrong. I cannot feel my arm. The room is spinning." The words came out thick, incoherent, alien in my own mouth. She sighed, dramatically, a theatrical exhalation of profound impatience. as though I had asked her to drive me to San Francisco International Airport during peak Fleet Week traffic. I am not your mother, Ethan, and I am certainly not your nurse. Figure it out. I have a very important client meeting with that Japanese collector at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I need my beauty sleep. Then she turned back toward the bedroom and shut the door with a decisive, echoing click, leaving me alone in the cold, dark living room, surrounded by shattered glass and my own rising terror. I lay on the cold floor for what felt like an eternity, willing my body to obey. Finally, I dragged myself back to the bed, fumbling for my phone. My fingers were useless, so I used voice commands to call my brother, Liam. He lived across the city, but he was at our loft in 20 minutes. The look on his face when he saw me, pale and incoherent, erased any lingering doubt. This was not a bug. This was something else. Holy hell, Ethan! He breathed, helping me sit. Why did you not call an ambulance? I mumbled something about costs. Liam did not waste another second. He practically carried me to his car. Chloe remained unseen, unheard, behind her closed bedroom door. Liam left a hurried note, taking Ethan to City Central Emergency Room. The emergency room was chaotic, but they saw my critical state immediately. My fever was 104.5 degrees Fahrenheit, blood pressure dangerously low. Sepsis was mentioned. My kidneys were failing. Liam called Chloe again, told her I was critically ill in the intensive care unit. Her response, San Francisco General? The parking situation there is absolutely terrible. Which hospital is it again? She arrived an hour later, looking supremely inconvenienced. Could you not have picked a better time for this, Ethan? She muttered, not even looking at me. I have an artist's launch tomorrow. Is this going to take all day? Nurse Maria, a kind woman with a sunflower pin, told Chloe how serious my condition was. Chloe looked irritated, then sat down and scrolled Instagram, occasionally liking photos, while doctors explained I was fighting for my life. After 30 minutes, she left, without a word of comfort. I will check in tomorrow. Try not to bother the doctors too much. Liam was livid. Is she kidding me? You could die. And she is worried about a gallery launch and parking? I was too sick to fully process it. I drifted in and out of consciousness for 2 days. Liam stayed constantly, never left my side. Chloe visited once, for 15 minutes, complaining about parking, and the hospital staff. She did not touch me. She did, however, take a selfie in the waiting room. Captioned, "Dark times test us." Sending prayers up. Stay strong, my love. The nurses later told Liam they had a betting pool on whether she would even show up again. Day 3 in the hospital. I was stable enough to be moved out of the intensive care unit to a step-down unit. Still very ill. My body felt alien and battered. But I was no longer actively dying. Chloe's response when Liam texted her the news, "Great. So he will be home soon then. I have that gala dinner to plan." No visit that day. She texted that she was completely swamped at the gallery, but would try to swing by tomorrow if things calm down. No visit that day either. But my parents came. They drove 18 hours to be there. Their faces etched with worry. They asked about Chloe. Liam just shook his head. The infectious disease specialist, Dr. Brian, diagnosed Ludwig's angina, a severe infection from a wisdom tooth, which had spread to my bloodstream, causing sepsis, and pressing on vital nerves. She said, Liam, bringing me in when he did, saved my life. I needed emergency surgery, and since I was still groggy, Liam had to tell the doctors Chloe was unavailable due to pressing work commitments. My parents signed the consent forms. The surgery lasted 3 grueling hours. They removed infected tissue from my neck. I would need therapy, but I would not be permanently disabled. When I woke up, Liam was there. So were Mom and Dad, but not Chloe. The next day, a courier delivered a get-well-soon balloon bouquet from her, with a generic, pre-printed card. No note. No signature. The cold knot in my stomach tightened. On day 5, I was finally lucid, though still very weak. Chloe finally visited, looking flawless, as if she were arriving for a fashion shoot. She sat, scrolling her phone, while Dr. Brian explained I needed weeks of home recovery and months of therapy. I would not be able to work or drive for at least 6 to 8 weeks. So, how long exactly will all this take? Chloe finally looked up. Impatient. I have that Art Basel trip to Miami next month. It is crucial for my career. Dr. Brian looked at me. A flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. A silent message of sympathy and understanding. Then back at Chloe. Ms. Dubois, your husband was in a life-threatening situation. He almost died. His recovery, his survival, needs to be the absolute priority now. It was a subtle, but firm rebuke, delivered with professional grace. After the doctor left, I tried to reach for the water cup, but my hand trembled. Chloe, I rasped, could you pass me that water, please? She looked up, annoyed. Oh, for heaven's sake, Ethan. I am not your damn nurse. Can you not see I am trying to salvage my career here? After you have derailed everything, do it yourself. You have a call button for the actual nurses. That was it. That was the moment. The final thread. 7 years of marriage, of shared dreams, of building a life together, and the woman I built my entire world around cared less about my immediate, desperate need than the night porter or the cafeteria worker. An icy, profound calm settled over me, chilling me to the bone. The chasm between us, once a subtle crack, was now the Grand Canyon, vast and unbridgeable. The love, the blind devotion, simply evaporated, leaving behind a stark, desolate landscape. The actual nurse, Maria, with her kind eyes and sunflower pin, came in later during her rounds. She saw me struggling, reaching weakly for the water, and without hesitation, she stepped in. She helped me drink, her touch gentle and professional. She checked my vitals, fluffed my thin pillows, and asked if I needed anything for pain. All the while, Chloe sat nearby, oblivious or simply uncaring, watching TikTok videos on her phone at full, jarring volume. The tinny music clashed harshly with the quiet, focused care of the nurse. Later, Liam came in. He looked around, took in the scene. Me, still struggling for water. Chloe, fully absorbed in her phone. His face hardened. "Chloe, I need to talk to you in the hall." "Now." He said it quietly, but the fury in his voice was unmistakable. I heard their voices outside, low at first, then rising. Moments later, she returned, snatched her bag, muttered something about an unmissable networking event, and left without even looking at me. Liam stayed. Before he left, he leaned close, his expression serious. "I found something, Ethan. Not the time now, but when you are stronger, we really need to talk. It is bad." I nodded, a hard lump forming in my throat. That night, I cried, not from physical pain, but from the crushing weight of betrayal. I spent 12 days in that hospital, 12 long days, fighting to claw my way back from the edge. The infection had torn through my body. I had lost 22 pounds, mostly muscle. I could barely walk to the bathroom without gasping for breath. I had to relearn basic movements. Even holding a fork without my hand trembling felt like a milestone. Liam and my parents never left me. They were my constant anchors. My chief executive officer called personally, assuring me that my position was secure, that my only job now was to heal. My colleagues sent thoughtful cards and warm meals that reminded me I was not forgotten. Everyone who truly cared had shown up. Everyone, except the one who vowed to stay through sickness and health. Chloe visited 5 times during those 14 days. Each visit shorter and more self-absorbed than the last. She complained about having to reschedule a hair appointment because my mother had asked her to pick up medical supplies, as if her inconvenience was the true tragedy in all this. I did not react. Not anymore. My resolve, forged in the crucible of her indifference and my near-death experience, was unshakable. The numbness that had settled in my heart, after her words, "I am not your damn nurse," had solidified into something colder, steely determination. The day before I was scheduled for discharge, Liam finally told me what he had discovered. He had gone to our loft to pack more clothes for me, and used Serafina's laptop to print out my insurance information, since mine was at the office. While he was using it, a message notification popped up. It read, "Cannot wait for tonight. He still does not suspect anything. Bring that lingerie I like." It was from Julian Vance, Chloe's personal trainer, a walking stereotype of tribal tattoos, tight shirts, and endless lectures about protein intake. Chloe had started training with him 8 months ago. Claiming she needed to tone up, Liam, ever the protective brother, dug deeper. What he found shattered what little faith remained. Hundreds of messages, spanning months. Pictures, hotel receipts, explicit conversations, details about their rendezvous, even mentions of encounters in our loft, in our bed. "There is more," Liam said, his voice low and tight with disgust. He carefully showed me screenshots on his phone. "She called you dull, too focused on your tedious tech world, not spiritually evolved enough. She said she needed someone who understood her passionate, artistic soul." He scrolled further, revealing the full extent of her disdain. Each message a knife. sharpened with contempt. The worst ones, the most gut-wrenching, were from the very days I was in the intensive care unit, while I fought sepsis, my body ravaged, fighting for every breath. Julian had written, "Too bad for Ethan, poor fool. But since he is conveniently laid up in hospital, are you free tonight, my divine priestess?" Her response, typed casually, flippantly, without a hint of remorse, "Absolutely. My soul is crying out for your nourishing energy. Be there by 8. Bring the massage oils." I was not angry. Not yet. That would come later. In that moment, I felt something else. A profound clarity. As if the final piece of a complex puzzle had just clicked into place. And, for the first time, I saw the complete, ugly picture of my marriage. 6 years of making excuses for her behavior, of convincing myself that her coldness was just her way, that her disinterest in my life was somehow normal. "I need your help, Liam," I said, quietly. "I am not going back to that loft." He nodded, already pulling out his phone. "Mom and Dad are with me on this. We have got you, Ethan." Later that night, when the nurse came to check my vitals, she noticed something was off. My blood pressure was elevated. My heart rate slightly erratic. "Are you okay, honey?" she asked. Her voice was soft, genuinely concerned. The dam broke. I was too exhausted, too emotionally raw, to sugarcoat anything. "I just found out my wife has been cheating on me," I said, the words heavy. Unbordend, raw with truth. She gently patted my hand, her touch unexpectedly comforting. Her eyes held that quiet, knowing wisdom. "While you have been in here, honey, that is not a wife," she said softly. "That is a placeholder, until the right woman comes along." Her words, simple and direct, cut straight through the pain. And somehow, they gave me hope. The plan came together swiftly. Chloe believed I was coming home. But Dr. Bryan kept me one extra night, giving us 24 crucial hours. Liam called Marcus Thorne, a sharp, no-nonsense divorce attorney. Marcus came that very night, carrying papers, power of attorney for Liam, banking documents, and a full set of divorce filings. "Do not confront her yet," Marcus advised. "Not until we have every duck in a precise, unassailable row. She has shown you who she is. Believe her. We play this smart." I signed everything, my hand still shaky. But the signature was legible. Each stroke felt like a definitive severing of ties. Marcus promised to file the paperwork first thing in the morning. Before he left, he paused. His expression was grim. "Ethan, I have seen a lot of divorces," he said. "But this one is cold. You deserve better. A lot better." His words were not dramatic. They were quiet. Measured. A professional confirmation of the profound injustice I had endured. The next morning, while Chloe was at Julian's yoga studio, likely engaging in another so-called soul-nourishing session, Liam and our cousins arrived at the loft. They moved with precision, quiet, efficient. They took only what belonged to me, not a single piece more. They left behind the art installations, the designer furniture, the curated aesthetic that had always been hers alone. Liam had already arranged a small apartment for my recovery. It was modest, accessible, practical. But more than anything, it felt like a fresh start. When Chloe called the hospital later that afternoon, she was furious. She had just found out I had been discharged into Liam's care. Instead of returning home, she screamed through the phone, "How dare you do this without telling me? I am your wife. I had everything ready for you." That was the first blatant lie. Liam had been there. Nothing was ready. My side of the closet was crammed with her yoga wear. The living room, where I had slept before the hospital, still held the soiled linens from my feverish nights. The refrigerator contained 3 bottles of kombucha, some almond milk, yogurt, and old takeout. Nothing remotely fit for someone recovering from a critical illness. I texted back a simple, unemotional sentence, drafted with Marcus's precise input. "I require an extended period of focused medical recovery. I am currently under the care of my brother, Liam Hayes, at a separate, secure location." It was cold, formal, and offered no room for argument or manipulation. It was the architect's final design, executed with chilling precision. For the next 2 weeks, I focused solely on recovery, physical therapy, nutritious food, slow, steady walks. I maintained 0 contact with Chloe, forwarding every text she sent to Marcus. She vacillated between rage, "You are being ridiculous. Just come home," manipulation, "I was so worried about you. Do you not care how this is affecting me?" and performative concern for social media. Prayers needed for my husband's recovery. #WifeLife. #blessed. Her Instagram told a very different story from reality. A carefully curated fantasy, aesthetic filters layered over emptiness. While I was relearning how to chew, how to speak without choking, she was posting about holding down the fort and keeping things together while my man recovers. Alongside photos of expensive dinners and gallery openings. The truth was, she had not even asked what medications I was on. My healing was remarkable. My mind, once foggy, was sharp again. The architect in me had returned. The day I felt strong enough, truly strong, not only physically, but emotionally, I called her. We met at a busy coffee shop, a neutral, public space, a place where her theatrics would have no stage. She arrived, fashionably late and flawlessly dressed, radiating her usual aura of detached perfection. But her eyes widened, just slightly, when she saw me. I was still thin, leaner, but healthy. My posture was upright, and in my gaze, there was a new, steely resolve she had never encountered before. "What is all this unnecessary drama, Ethan?" she demanded, her voice low, sharp, already slipping into her rehearsed victimhood. "You nearly You put me through hell, and now you decide to completely blow up our marriage?" I looked at her face. The beautiful, meticulously maintained face of the woman I had once loved beyond reason. The woman I had planned a future with, built a life around, a future that now felt like a cruel mirage. This was the same woman who would not pass me a simple glass of water, while I lay helpless in pain. The woman who welcomed another man into our bed, our sacred space, while I fought for my life in a sterile intensive care room, hooked to machines that breathed on my behalf. The architect in me saw it clearly now. A flawed design. a catastrophic structural failure, a building raised on sand, doomed from the very beginning to collapse. The love, the yearning, even the hurt, it was gone. Replaced by a cold, clinical assessment. Without a word, I slid a thick manila envelope across the table. Inside were the results of everything. Photos from the private investigator, screenshots of text messages, hotel receipts, credit card statements, all showing gifts she had bought for her boyfriends using our joint account. On top of the pile, a particularly damning exchange, a text from the very day I went into septic shock, where she complained to Damien that my neediness was interfering with their plans. Her face went pale as she flipped through it all. Each page a blow, each message a revelation. I let her take it in. No words, no interruptions. She saw the secret credit card opened in my name, the hotel charges, the messages where she mocked me, called me weak, boring, not man enough. The detailed conversations planning their next meetup while I was in a hospital bed, fighting for my life. When she finally looked up, her eyes were wide, not with guilt, but with shock, and a dawning frantic realization. I know everything, I said calmly. My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. I have already filed for divorce. You will be served tomorrow. Your belongings will be packed and moved to storage by the end of the week. The loft is going on the market. I watched her face. It shifted through a fascinating sequence. Shock. Anger. A brief flash of cold calculation. And finally, a desperate, theatrical attempt at seduction. A final, pathetic manipulation. She reached for my hand across the table. Her fingers brushed lightly against mine. Ethan, baby, I made a mistake, she whispered. I was so stressed, so scared with you being so sick. It did not mean anything. We can work through this. Maybe see a counselor? Her voice was soft, calculated. A purr disguised as sincerity, a desperate attempt to rewind time. I pulled my hand away. The recoil was instant. Involuntary. You slept with another man in our bed. While I was in the intensive care unit, with organ failure. Then you slept with your boss? While complaining to your friends that I was milking my illness for attention. There is no working through that, Chloe. The words came out, measured, clear, unyielding. She switched tactics instantly. Her expression hardened. You have been so distant, she snapped. Always at work or at the gym. What was I supposed to do? You barely touched me for months. And then you get sick and expect me to be Florence Nightingale? I am not built for that. That night, the messages began first to Liam, then to my work email, then from burner numbers. When I blocked the previous ones, I miss you. I made the biggest mistake of my life. You were always the strong one. I see that now. Please, just coffee. Let me explain. I am a different person now. I have grown. I am in therapy and understanding my patterns. Her desperation was undeniable, a stark contrast to her previous indifference, but I did not respond. Each message was forwarded to Marcus, who reassured me it was standard manipulative behavior. Chloe began reaching out to our mutual friends, spinning a new story, claiming she had made a terrible mistake. that she only wanted to apologize to me. She is trying to repair her image, Ben told me over beers. She keeps telling everyone she had a mental health crisis during your illness, that she was not herself, that she has gotten help, and just wants to make amends. I ignored it. Too busy living my life with Sarah to care about Chloe's redemption tour. Sarah and I were planning a trip to Patagonia, something I had always dreamed of, but Chloe had vetoed it because there were not enough luxury hotels and no Instagram opportunities worth posting. Sarah and I were going to camp, hike during the day, and stargaze at night. The kind of authentic experience Chloe would have hated. The divorce was ugly, exactly as I had expected. Chloe tried everything. She claimed I was mentally unstable from the sepsis, that I had been emotionally abusive, that I had abandoned her. The judge was not impressed, especially when we submitted hospital security footage of her scrolling through Instagram. While doctors explained my critical condition, her face lit only by the phone screen, utterly devoid of concern. The text messages between her and her boyfriend sealed everything. Conversations mocking my weakness, accusing me of milking my illness for attention, while I lay hospitalized. They were the final, crushing nail in her coffin. The judge, with a stern but just hand, awarded me the majority of our shared assets, recognizing the magnitude of the betrayal. Chloe was saddled with my substantial medical bills, a bitter taste of her own indifference. Karma's first delivery. Chloe's life imploded. Her affair with Julian blew up when his partner exposed them on social media. And just like that, Julian dumped her, blamed her for everything. Turns out, Julian was married the whole time. His wife found out about the affair when she saw receipts for jewelry he'd bought Serafina with their joint credit card. Ironic, right? Chloe's gallery. Not thrilled with the scandal, especially after finding out she'd also been involved with a major patron, one whose philanthropy was critical to their funding. She tried finding new work, but bosses kept firing her. Why? She couldn't stop bad-mouthing them. I watched it all unfold from a safe distance. No gloating, no interfering. Our divorce was already finalized. I'd moved on. But our mutual friends, oh, they lived for the drama and made sure I heard all about it. But karma wasn't finished yet. About a year later, while Sarah, my new girlfriend, and I were moving into our new house, Liam called me. His voice, bursting with amused disbelief. "Dude, you won't believe this," he said, practically laughing. "Chloe just got fired from her new job again." Turns out, she was trash-talking her boss to co-workers, without realizing the boss's assistant was right there. The same boss who'd taken a chance on her, despite the scandal. The assistant, sick of Chloe's entitled attitude, fed up with her laziness, so they recorded her little rant and played it back for the boss. It was poetic, sad, but completely predictable. A perfect ending to that chapter of her own self-destruction. I knew Chloe well enough to know she'd eventually get bored with the rejection. She always did. She'd move on to another target, another scheme, another performance. Her attention span for anything that didn't immediately gratify her was remarkably finite. The relentless barrage of Serafina's texts, eventually dwindled, just like I predicted. Her attention, ever fleeting, found new, more receptive targets. The so-called redemption tour she tried to pull with our mutual friends fizzled out fast. Her self-serving narrative didn't land, not with people who'd seen her actions, or lack of them, firsthand. Her carefully crafted facade cracked, then crumbled, and no amount of curated Instagram posts could stitch it back together. For someone like her, irrelevance might just be the cruelest punishment of all, a fate worse than losing money. But for me, life began to bloom. The apartment Liam helped me set up, it became more than a place to sleep. It became a sanctuary, a space for healing. Each day brought tiny shifts, subtle improvements in strength, in clarity, in purpose. Work at the startup flourished. Freed from the emotional drain of that marriage, my creativity roared back. I led a major project, one that got industry-wide recognition. It put me back on the map and opened new doors I hadn't even known existed. And Sarah was a revelation. Where Chloe had been a performance, Sarah was real, vibrant, empathetic. She worked as an environmental consultant, her love for nature reflecting mine in ways I didn't expect. Our trip to Patagonia wasn't for show. It was a journey of discovery. We camped beneath star-drenched skies, hiked grueling trails, and shared quiet, sacred moments that didn't need filters or captions. Every second felt real, rough, and achingly beautiful. She celebrated who I was, understood my love for physical challenge, and actually listened when I talked about work or my family. She wasn't trying to mold me into a mirror of herself. She just wanted a partner, a companion. Occasionally, a whisper of Chloe's life would reach me, through the grapevine of mutual acquaintances, but it was distant, like echoes from a forgotten past. Her reputation continued to precede her, making it difficult for her to secure stable employment. The lavish lifestyle she craved became unsustainable without my income, or the expense accounts of her ill-fated corporate jobs. The therapy she claimed to be undergoing seemed like a performance for others, never leading to genuine introspection or meaningful change. Her desperate pleas for contact, first aggressive, then manipulative, eventually ceased altogether. I never blocked her. I just stopped checking. She became a ghost in the machine, her efforts fading into the white noise of the internet. One crisp autumn morning, a year and a half after the divorce, I stood at the summit of a familiar mountain, the wind whipping around me. Below, the city stretched out, a patchwork of glittering glass and steel. My heart, once a battleground, was now a quiet pool of gratitude. The scar on my shoulder ached faintly, a phantom limb of past suffering, but the pain was distant, easily overcome. I thought of Chloe, not with anger, but with detached pity. She had been a storm, violent and destructive, but I had weathered it. I had not only survived, but had rebuilt, stronger and truer to myself than ever before. My phone chimed. It was Sarah. A photo attached. She was smiling, covered in mud from our gardening efforts, her hair a delightful mess. Come home, she wrote. Lunch is ready, and we need to decide which part of the world to conquer next. I smiled back. A genuine, unburdened smile. The future, once a carefully planned but fragile construct, now stretched before me. Open and full of possibility, I had found not just a new life, but my life, shaped by resilience, anchored in real connection, and boundless in its quiet joy. The past was a chapter closed, a lesson learned, and the future, our vast, exhilarating canvas, waiting to be painted. My hands, once too weak to hold a cup of water, now gripped the rock with purpose. Ready for the descent, ready for whatever mountain lay ahead.